What's happening, guys? Harriseth here, and I'm coming back to you again with another episode of the Learn to Play series. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the priest and discipline spec healing, and a little bit of a rotation that goes around doing so. The first thing I wanted to do is jump off to the actual abilities that we have that are core, and how we have to incorporate using them to heal efficiently in arena and in PvP. The biggest thing I would show up in 5.2 is the lack of crit. Now, some priests are probably still a bit confused about this, but what happens now with any crit heals that you throw off, it instead gives me a Divine Aegis, which is this ability here, and it gives me an absorb shield for the amount that I crit for. And this is something that you have to be aware of, in that anytime you try to crit, you won't notice the number of your heal get bigger, but instead you will end up getting a shield for the equivalent of that crit, which means you're doing double the damage, and it's really powerful, and it works really well. Okay, well, the first thing then, or the next thing I'm going to look at there is, of course, the set piece bonus, and this is probably one of the most important things about the Discipline Priest. If we look at our gear at the moment, in the PvP gear, and you've farmed it up and you've gotten all your stuff, what you'll see here is that the first set bonus, or sorry, the 2 set piece bonus, is whenever you cast Prayer of Mending, the initial target is blessed with Holy Spark, increasing healing done by a next flash heal, greater heal, or Holy Word Serenity by 50% per 10 seconds. So that's a 50% increase on my flash heal. Now, how powerful is that? Well, let's just have a quick look. I'm just going to do a quick flash heal without the general benefits there to this target, and it hits for 70k. Let me just remove Grace there. Now, Grace is another ability that builds up over time. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Prayer of Mending to put Spark on the target, which lasts for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to give it a heal. And what you'll see there is the actual 50% increase in the heal, and it's a big difference. Now, after a while, if we actually build up our Grace, which is, let me just go over it there in the ability, it is your flash heal, penance, greater heal, and heal affects the target with grace, increasing all healing received by the priest by 10%, and can stack up to 3 times. So now when we're keeping active, I'll let it drop there, on our target, using most of our abilities, like for example, you'll be using penance a lot while you're on the move, and it'll end up putting shields and all stuff up. But for this case, now that we have grace up on the target, I'm going to follow that up with Prayer of Mending, and then I'm just going to do a flash heal, and we have a massive increase. It's nearly double the amount of healing done just for the fact that I kept grace up on the target. And it's kind of important to know that you should generally always use your flash heal following a Prayer of Mending, and it's really important. And then to top that off, to make sure that you're safe in healing, we can start using the Inner Focus. So now that we have grace up on our target, we have Prayer of Mending, and we're keeping all of these little abilities up and our shields, and we're relying primarily on instant abilities with the exception of penance. So what I'm going to use my Inner Focus, and then I'm going to use Prayer of Mending and do a big heal on this target. Now what that's going to do is going to crit, but it didn't crit for any increased damage, but instead what it's done is it's put this Divine Aegis shield for 170k damage. That is a huge absorption shield right there that most players will not be able to break through anytime soon. So the power of the priest is really strong right now, but knowing all of this information will really help you get into the feel of it, and following these simple rotations will allow you to do maximized healing. Okay, so now that we have the 3 healing comprehensive, or the 3 major passives looked down, and we can see how much we can heal for, we need to start following up now with primarily using instant abilities. So the priest is more or less one of those targets that keeps his player up with the use of minimum actual spam healing. Unlike, say for example, the shaman or even a druid where they need to spam regrowth, priest is going to be reliant on most of his instants. For example, presence of Prayer of Mending, renew, or shield, and penance. And penance is one of these great abilities that we can use in a lot of situations. For example, say I have an enemy target here, and I have my nice little box here. Being able to use penance with the ability to move into line of sight allows me to continue to heal my target while I'm in a safe position and cannot be counterspelled. But you have to kind of jump out, press it, and get back in. and this is something that will take a little bit of practice, but it should be relatively easy for you to get the hang of, and it is required with this glyph. There is the glyph of penance right now. I'm using glyph prayer mending, however I'm going to change that. This is going to be one of the next glyphs that I go over, primarily Shadow Word Death. And I think these two, as discipline, are just going to be a requirement. There are changes that you will do against certain comps, but I think glyph of mass dispel is really powerful to have a quick dispel for all purposes, not just the fact that you're waiting to use it on shields. It might be expensive, but you can get several of your team members out of roots if needed in an emergency, as well as getting them all out of stuns if it is a AoE or magical stun, and not only to mention removing defenses and so forth. And you want to be able to do it quick nearly all the time, so it's a really recommended glyph. And then obviously the next one I had there was penance, which allows me to use it on the move. And then I swapped this one out depending on the situation of the team. Whenever I go against a mage or a hunter or even a rogue, I might use Shadow Word Death to try counteract some of the abilities that they will use against me to keep me in play. But the timing of these abilities are really advanced, and using them well is obviously going to take a lot of practice and a lot more time, and I'll go over them in a future episode. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys. This is generally this priest healing rotation. I hope some of it was helpful and useful to you, and of course I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow with some more information on different classes. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you next time.